Long ago, there was a brand new game that came out of nowhere and shocked the games industry to its core. A brave new studio that had nothing but the lint in their pockets. They set out on a quest to create a certified banger in a year stacked with Game of the Year contenders. During and after the game's release, gamers adored this revolutionary title, while the entirety of the game's media were melting down. It was truly unlike anything we have ever seen before. Despite the overwhelming praise from journalists, it was still somehow apparent that they hated this indie game with a burning passion. But miraculously, this new JRPG managed to get nominated for 12 awards and win 9 of them at Jeff Keighley's 2025 Game Awards. This caused even more meltdowns from the media, even though they made up 90% of the votes. Nevertheless, gamers from around the world rejoiced as gaming was finally saved by this new studio of only 33 people and their doggo. This crowning achievement of absolute cinema was not just the game of the year, but it was the game of the millennia. And that game was called Clair Obscure Expedition 33, the new industry standard, the new blueprint for turn-based JRPGs, what a real indie game should look like, and one of many masterpieces.
In times of desperation, people are removed from subjectiveness, stripped of critical thought, and encased in a cocoon of delusion, to shield themselves from the primal fear of having to withstand words that don't echo what they want to hear and ideas they feel safe with. It's an unnerving sensation for them that they wish not to endure. Rather than expose yourself to other perspectives that don't align with your own, you ignore what's actually said in videos and focus on what initially made you engage with said perspective in the first place. The title and thumbnail, the two things that automatically triggered your knee-jerk reaction and caused you to make up your mind before a single word was said. Claims of being toxic or negative flood comment sections due to not having the correct approved opinion. We're not allowed to criticize the shiny new thing, but instead, we're supposed to have a positive outlook on just about everything. There's no room for criticism unless it's deemed acceptable by those who play the role of authorities. We're expected to ignore the past because the past is old, dusty, and outdated. According to them, new is good. It looks so fresh and appropriate for the modern day. Ain't no way it will ever go out of style. So we either adapt to what's new, or we'll get left out in the past. And if that happens, we won't be cool anymore. This new French flavor is apparently the beacon of hope for the industry. This totally fresh new take on turn-based JRPGs, or rather RPGs, has been sweeping the nation in supposed legitimate award shows. According to comment threads, you have to be a real retard to question success of this supposedly undeniable indie game from a debuting studio of newbies that started from the bottom. In a year that was allegedly stacked, filled with Game of the Year contenders, and no shortage of splendor, fields of bangers, peaks, and the greatest heights of cinema, bruh and dudes all around agreed that this was certainly once again another great year for gaming. Foolish of me and others to deny this, however, it must be stated that in fact a great year in gaming has been absent for quite some time. And if that is to be denied, well, then your brain must be fried. Or you can't be much older than a 5-year-old. But true great years of gaming are still fresh in my mind. the ones with actual authentic Game of the Year contenders, and not to mention the many hidden gems of years past. To witness those years was a treat. For those great years, we were actually eating good. Unlike the Somalian slopfest modern games you have to force yourself to believe is edible and worth the price of admission. If out of the 12 months of a year, you can only muster up 5 games you consider standout titles and have to belly flop into a dumpster to round up a top 10 list with a bunch of shovelware, then that does not, in fact, make a great year for gaming. If anything, it only further illustrates how low the bar has been set and how badly this industry needs a reset. Modern gaming has yet to see years that come close to the 1990s, 2000s, or 2010s. If you're old enough to know what life was like holding a controller during those years, then you should have enough sense to know not to prop up such dark times for this beloved hobby, as if it's anything great or even close to a great time for video games. Just the box art alone showed how visually striking and creative older games were. There was a sense of magic and freshness and a sense of mystique and originality, whereas now, so many of us are justifiably jaded due to that very magic being snuffed out and replaced by soulless corporate trendy propagandist hogwash. There are terms that get thrown around far too often and have lost its meaning. The term masterpiece is essentially something you manage to enjoy during a time where the majority of releases are unremarkable, and the competition for the year is severely lacking. Your favorite YouTubers tell you what a masterpiece is. You pick and choose when journalists are legitimate as long as they echo your sentiment. And to avoid pushback, you say what you must in order to protect your place and your little social circles to remain with the cool crowd. Rinse and repeat, the cogs keep turning. Let's not question Expedition 33's development. Let's not question the subtle yet not so subtle agendas in the game. And let's not question the majority of the media falling head over heels for the game. Surely, all of the praise and achievements are organic. Nothing manufactured or suspicious. To question any of these things would have us labeled as haters, grifters, or rage baiters. Even if we give Expedition 33 some praise, all of that will be ignored. The reason being is that despite you all claiming to dislike negativity being spread, you sure do love engaging with negativity whenever it's presented to you, like moths to a flame. What you claim to be a masterpiece is not what I consider a masterpiece. And to be honest, I couldn't tell you what games are a masterpiece, because I don't use the word so loosely as so many of you all do. And I don't place games so high up on a pedestal solely because it was surrounded by a list of painfully average games in comparison.
I swear to God, that'll stop your heart!
Put Expedition 33 in a year that was undeniably great with no shortage of classics, including actual jrpgs, and it would have easily been ignored and forgotten by many, from the media down to those white knighting for their precious French government-funded indie game from former Ubisoft quadruple A developers and mainly created by hundreds of outsourced developers using both AI and generic Unreal 5 assets. The ripple effect from the forced praise and unnatural rise in popularity will result in actual JRPGs adopting aspects from Expedition 33, and like clockwork, it's already started to happen, but there will be more to come. Get ready for more games using Unreal Engine 5, having unremarkable music, subtle DEI for alleged anti-wokes to ignore, bland character designs with bobbleheads with blood and dirt smeared all over them, parry slap combat with enough cinematics and particle effects to keep the tourists engaged, which makes up a good chunk of Expedition 33's fanbase. As if it weren't bad enough that Final Fantasy had lost its identity and abandoned its Eastern roots in favor of westernizing itself, this eventual new wave of JRPGs will follow suit in order to gain legitimacy from Square Enix shills, Persona 5 clowns, ball and gun hoodlums, censorship-happy blue sky snowflakes, long-winded article-reading YouTubers, and the same journalist hacks from the Game Awards voting committee that hand-picked Expedition 33 to win all the awards that you people cheered for and still believe is just as real as Expedition 33 being an indie game. This may be your savior of the industry in a year of mediocrity, sponsored by the tribe, by Chinese investments and collectively protected by white knights from all sides, the lies you tell and secrets you choose to ignore. Another grim year you applaud. The golden age has long passed us all, while industry plants are adored. Roses and awards cover the floor as glazed jizz is smeared across the walls. Another false idol is born. Like the many others before it, you continue to reward it, while the rest of us are forced to endure this. Here we go again, another masterpiece we are told to accept, or else be labeled another buzzword again, as is the trend. This is the culture of modern gaming. Masterpieces and 10 out of 10s are as common as an ugly wench. But don't you dare tell anyone what gaming was like before low standards became a trend.
You son of a bitch! Why? Tell me why!